أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لن يستنكف المسيح أن يكون عبدا لله ولا الملائكة المقربون ومن يستنكف عن عبادته ويستكبر فسيحشرهم إليه جميعا فأما الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات فيوفيهم أجورهم ويزيدهم من فضله وأما الذين استنكفوا واستكبروا فيعذبهم عذابا أليما ولا يجدون لهم من دون الله وليا ولا نصيرا يا أيها الناس قد جاءكم برهان من ربكم وأنزلنا إليكم نورا مبينا فأما الذين آمنوا بالله واعتصموا به فسيدخلهم في رحمة منه وفضل ويهديهم إليه صراطا مستقيما يستفتونك قل الله يفتيكم في الكلالة إن امرؤ هلك ليس له ولد وله أخت فلها نصف ما ترك وهو يرثها إن لم يكن لها ولد فإن كانت اثنتين فلهما الثلثان مما ترك وإن كانوا إخوة رجالا ونساء فللذكر مثل حظ الأنثيين يبين الله لكم أن تضلوا والله بكل شيء عليم صدق الله مولانا العظيم وبلغ رسوله النبي الكريم صلى الله عليه وسلم.
Jazakallah khair, Faiz. So inshallah, as it is being discussed here about our belief system in about Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam and all the prophets. So all the prophets who came from Adam alayhi salam to the Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, they brought the same message. Like Shariat was slightly different, the laws were slightly different, but the base message was the same. Base message was Tawheed, and Risalat, that the prophet came and introduced themselves as the prophets, and then they introduced the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So all of them, they're like Tawheed, as we discuss it again, it's an important concept and the basic concept in our belief system. So we discuss again that Tawheed is oneness of God. Tawheed is Samadiyat. That means Allah is above and beyond all the needs. And Lam yalid wa lam yulad, Allah is above and beyond all the relationship that we can comprehend. Allah is subhanahu, Allah is above that. Wa lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad, and Allah is above any of the shape and form that we can comprehend. So the shirk is opposite of that, to make any image of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to associate any father, son, or any human relation like aunt, uncle, wife, husband to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam brought the same message. And this message was later corrupted by a person named Paul, which Westerners call him Saint Paul. He, in the initial days, as we were discussing with Faaiz, that Christians were prosecuted by Romans. Romans were basically pagan. They believe in their own belief system. So Christianity was, very strictly prosecuted. So they had members in the Jewish community, because Christianity started as a sect of Judaism. It was much later in St. Paul time that Christianity, they say that Jews fail to follow the message of Christ. So instead of Jews, it should be, these teachings should be taken to Gentile. Gentile means non-Jewish people. So St. Paul initially collaborated, although he was a Jew himself, and at that time Christianity was considered just a sect of Judaism. So he collaborated and pointed out where the Christians were. But later on, as it is in the Jewish, Christian texture, that one day Paul, he was traveling from Damascus to Jerusalem, and he claimed that he had a vision. And in vision, he says that Jesus came to him and said that, why do you prosecute my followers? And he said that, okay, I will convert. So he brought the message and says that, Mazallah, he brought the shirk into the Christianity by saying that, Jesus is the Son of God. And then second bidah he did in the Christianity, he said that, Jesus had forbade the eating of pork, but I make it lawful now. We don't have to follow that part of that, because we are taking this message to Gentile, and it is okay for Gentile to eat, consume pork. And third thing was, it was Jesus who, continued the factor of circumcision. But he says that, now this circumcision is no longer needed. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that in the day of judgment, who Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent with miracles, he would not have any hesitation. He would not have any disdain to claim that I am, just like we have prophets, they are Abduhu wa Rasuluhu, Abduhu wa Nabiyu. That means they are the servant and all. So Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, or Jesus, would not have any shyness in declaring that. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is describing that anybody who's denying that fact, it is because of arrogance and because of disdain. Because in the earlier Surah Baqarah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described the condition of Ahlul Kitab, or the people of scriptures, Jews and Christians. They recognize Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam just like they recognize their own sons. All the indication about Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was very precise. So they do not have about how they will recognize it. So even the city of Medina, let me give you a background of city of Medina. What is the history of city of Medina? In the olden days, just like, they were big conquerors like Alexander the Great or Cyrus the Great. So there was one Yemenite king from Yemen. His name was Tabba. So Tabba was a great conqueror, and he was able to raise a very large army, and he got out of Yemen and started conquering cities after cities. And he even reached Mecca. And when he reached Mecca, to his dismay, he discovered that people of Mecca did not show any fear of him, his large army. So he inquired from his army that what is the matter? Why these people of Mecca are not fearing me and all that. So his soldiers and informed Tabba that this is a city in which there's a house of Allah, and people come from all over Arabia, different tribes, every year to perform pilgrimage. So they do not consider anybody very important. So Tabba got annoyed and he made a plan to Mazallah destroy Kaaba. As soon as he made that intention, he fell sick. And he fell sick, water started coming out of his eyes, his nose, his mouth, his ears. And when it had happened, he had one of the best physicians in his army and his camp. So they started medically treating him, but they were helpless in treating him. So he had whichever area he would conquer, he will enlist some of the soldiers from that area into his army. So he has best of the best people and knowledgeable people he would enlist in his army. So there were a lot of Jewish in his army, and those scholars, they say that, whatever illness you are suffering from, it doesn't look like a medical condition, it is something else. So what you have in your mind? So Taba said that I made an intention of destroying Kaaba. So the Jewish scholars in his camp, they say, you must repent and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for forgiveness, because this is the condition caused by this thing. So Taba repented. And when he repented, all of a sudden his medical condition improved. And he was the first person, as a gratitude, he had one of the cover, prepared for the Kaaba. And he was the first person in the history to ever put the cover or the cloak around Kaaba. And this tradition is carried to this day. Every year, Ghilaf-e-Kaaba, or the cover, is changed. But the first person to do that was Tabba. So then he went forward, and his journey was much north. And he went to area what is now Medina. And again, what happened, that Jewish people in his camp, when they saw this area, which is now Medina, all of them, they say that, this is the area, you will not go anywhere other than this. Taba, I have to go and conquer this land, further land. So what is the noise there? Mansoor. So, Tabba, his advisors say that, so it was not a city of Medina, but it was the area. There was some scattered house here and there. So the Jewish people, they say that, we will not go anywhere. So Tabba asked, what is the reason? Why don't you want to go any further? So the scholars, the Jewish scholars told Tabba that this is the area when the last prophet will migrate and come and settle in this area. So there was no city. The city of Medina did not exist then, but there was scattered one or two houses there. So he said, okay, if that's the issue, I will also stay here. So Tabba, although being conquest of the world in his mind, but he stayed in what is now Medina for 1 year. And he waited for the Prophet ﷺ for 1 year. But that was about 600 years before the Maulud Sharif, or the birth of Nabi Karim ﷺ. So when Nabi Karim ﷺ did not migrate, so he said, okay, I have to go and conquer the other cities. So he said, anybody who wants to stay in this city or the blessed area, I will prepare a house for him and let him, I will gift him a house. So about 200 of the people, mostly Jewish people, they say that, we want to stay here. So Tabba, he built a house for each of them. So about 200 houses were built, and that's how city of Medina started. And Tabba also wrote a letter by his scribe, and he said, I, Tabba, declared that, about, I believe in the last prophet. I believe in the last prophet, the religion that last prophet will bring. And I also believe in the scripture that last prophet will bring. And he said that, when you find Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, so give that letter to him. So even after 600 years, the Ansar, they had that letter. And when Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was migrating from Makkah to Medina, so there was one Ansari Sahabi. His name was Abu Layla. So Ansar, they gave him that letter and say, okay, give it to Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, along with Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq, had already started the journey. So Sayyidina Abu Layla, the Sahabi, he made this journey and met Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq and Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam halfway and handed that letter. And that letter said what I just said, that, it was the letter of Tabba, and that was being handed from generation to generation for almost 600 years or so. And that was given to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So the thing is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the reason for explaining all that is, it was the arrogance of Jews and Ahl al-Kitab. They refused to believe in Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Otherwise, as far as all the indication and all the thing, they had the full knowledge of who Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the area he will emerge, and the area he will migrate to. When the day Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was born, the chief rabbi of Medina, he said that, today is the day when nation of Arab has been blessed with the prophet. So this is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is just describing that, it was their disdain, it was their that and their arrogance that did that. فَأَمَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ فَيُوَفِّيهِمْ أَجُورَهُم وَيَزِيدُهُم مِّن فَضْلِهِ. And those people who believe and those people who do good things, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give them the full reward, and Allah ta'ala will give them more than their prescribed reward, because for each good deed there's a reward. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is being the merciful. He will give above and beyond that prescribed thing. وَأَمَّا الَّذِينَ اسْتَنكِفُوا وَاسْتَكْبَرُوا. So on the other hand, those people who are arrogant and those people who are self-centered or who have disdain, فَيُعَذِّبُهُمْ عَذَابًا أَلِيمًا. And for them there's a severe punishment. وَلَا يَجِدُونَ لَهُم مِّن دُونِ اللَّهِ وَلِيًّا وَلَا نَصِيرًا. And other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they will not find anybody, a helper or anybody who can rescue them for that. يَا أَيُّهَا النَّاسُ قَدْ جَاءَكُمْ بُرْهَانٌ مِّن رَّبِّكُمْ وَأَنزَلْنَا عَلَيْكُمْ نُورًا مُبِينًا. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is describing Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam as a nur, or as a light. It said Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give what is Burhan? Burhan means there is a proof. Burhan means there is a proof for that. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent, just like Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, he was given the miracles which were very related to his time and his place where he was sent. The place he was sent, Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, medical sciences were on their height, on their zenith. The society in which Isa alayhi salam went, they could cure almost all kind of ailments, but they were helpless against leprosy. They were helpless against a person who was born blind, helpless against a person who died. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam those 3 miracles and much more, but mainly 3, so he could treat those. And Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam, he was given miracle of a staff. When he was in the middle of desert, people who follow him ask for water, so he struck that staff or the big stick that he had on the rock, and 12 springs sprang out from that thing. And then when he was about to cross the Red Sea. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told him to strike his staff on that. So what was the reason that he got the miracle of the staff? At that time, when Musa alayhi salam was sent, it was a very much ancient Egyptian sorcery and magician, black magic was there very prevalent. And they would, what they would have a magic wand through which they will perform their magic. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent him, gave him a miracle of a big staff, which was much larger than a magic wand. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam the miracle of Quran. And Arabian society was a very poetic society. They would value a lot at very eloquent speakers, poets, and all that. So the kalam was very much valued. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave Quran to Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they knew all kind of poetry but Quran came. So they were also, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give that burhan. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is describing Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam as a light. In a metaphoric sense, light means that, that takes away the darkness. So Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam, remove all the darkness from Arabia and all over the world by his nur, by his guidance of iman. فَأَمَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا بِاللَّهِ وَاعْتَصَمُوا بِهِ فَسَيَدْخِلُهُمْ فِي رَحْمَةٍ مِّنْهُ وَفَضْلٍ. And whoever follows Allah and His Prophet, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will enter him in His mercy, immense mercy, and وَيَهْدِهِمْ عَلَيْهِمْ صِرَاطًا مُسْتَقِيمًا, and Allah will guide them to the straight path. And now the last ayat is that people ask you about kalala. Kalala means a person who died, and about his inheritance. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has described that in detail, all the commands about inheritance. But this one is actually the end of the surah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is again describing that anybody who dies without leaving a male son, so if he has a sister, so she will inherit half of what the inheritance. And if there are more than one sister, like 2 sisters, 3 sisters, so they will get it from the 2/3 of whatever the deceased person has left it. And in Islam, although this is describing just as a reminder, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide in exact detail that those people who are descendants, like down the line from the deceased person, like what children will inherit. If a person has a both mixture of boys and girls, a son and daughter as a thing, so boys will get double what a daughter would get. So if somebody leave behind $3,000, he has one son and one daughter. So daughter will get $1,000 as an inheritance, and a son will get $2,000. So that's the proportion of the. If a person dies, it doesn't happen too often, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if a person dies and leave mother and father, so both mother and father will get 1/6 of the inheritance. So together they will almost get, like if a person dies young and his parents are alive, so they will get each 1/6 of each. Mother will get 1/6 and father will get 1/6 of that. If a person has a male child, so he's not considered a kalala, so the sisters and brothers will not get anything, but property will be still, parents will get it, but the rest of them is with the children. So if only there's a son, so he will inherit everything. And if somebody has made a will, a person can only give 1/3. Like if somebody is worth $300,000, so maximum he can put in his will is 1/3 of that. The rest of them are according to the prescribed portions which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has described. So inshallah we'll stop here, and if there's any questions, please, I will welcome that. Any brother has any questions about this? क्या मंसूर में कोई सवाल है कोई? So if nobody has any questions, inshallah, I will make the dua. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد اللهم صل وسلم على النبي الأمي وآله وصحبه وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد معدن الجود والكرم منبع العلم والحلم والحكم وبارك وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد بعدد كل ذرة ألف ألف مرة وبارك وسلم اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد صاحب التاج والميراج والبراق والألم دافع البلاء والوباء والقهط والمرض والألم اسمه مكتوب مرفوع مشفوع منقوش في اللوح والقلم سيد العرب والعجم جسمه مقدس معطر مطهر منور في البيت والحرم شمس الضحى بدر الدجى صدر الللا نور الهدى كاف الورى مصباح الظلم جميل الشيم شفيع الأمم صاحب الجود والكرم والله آسمه وجبريل قادمه والبراق مركوبه والميراج سفره والسدرة المنتهى مقامه وقاب قوسين مطلوبه والمطلوب مقصوده والمقصود موجوده سيد المرسلين خاتم النبيين شفيع المذنبين أنيس الغريبين رحمة للعالمين راحة العاشقين مراد المشتاقين شمس العارفين سراج السالكين مصباح المقربين محب الفقراء والغرباء والمساكين سيد الثقلين نبي الحرمين إمام القبلتين وسيلتنا في الدارين صاحبي قاب قوسين محبوب رب المشرقين ورب المغربين جد الحسن والحسين مولانا ومولى الثقلين أبي القاسم محمد بن عبد الله نور من نور الله يا أيها المشتاقون بنور جماله صلوا عليه وآله وأصحابه وسلموا تسليما अल्लाह ताला आज हमने जो कुछ पढ़ा इसका ईसा सवाब हुज़ूर मुक़द्दस सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम को पहुँच के उनके तमाम अहले बैत इकराम तमाम सहाबा इकराम को पहुँच के सैयदना हज़रत अबू बकर सिद्दीक़ हज़रत उमर फारूक हज़रत उस्मान गनी हज़रत अली करमल्लाहु वजहू हज़रत इमाम हसन इमाम हुसैन को पहुँच के इमाम अली ज़ैनुल आबिदीन हज़रत इमाम मोहम्मद बाक़िर हज़रत इमाम जाफ़र सादिक़ हज़रत इमाम मूसा काज़िम हज़रत इमाम अली रज़ा हज़रत इमाम मोहम्मद तक़ी हज़रत इमाम अली नक़ी हज़रत इमाम हसन अस्करी इमाम मोहम्मद महदी को पहुँच के हज़रत कबीर अहमद रफ़ाई को पहुँच के तमाम बुजुर्गान चिश्त, ख्वाजा उस्मान खरमनी, ख्वाजा मोइनुद्दीन चिश्ती, बाबा बख्तियार काकी, बाबा फरीद गंज शकर, हज़रत साबिर पिया, हज़रत निज़ामुद्दीन औलिया, हज़रत अमीर खुसरो, हज़रत नसीरुद्दीन चिराग दहलवी, हज़रत ख्वाजा गेसू दराज बंदा नवाज को पहुँच के, ख्वाजा मोहम्मद सिद्दीक महबूबुल्लाह को पहुँच के, मौलाना अब्दुल कदीर सिद्दीकी साहब क़िबला को पहुँच के, मूसा पाशा क़िबला को पहुँच के, डॉक्टर ज़ियाउल हक साहब क़िबला को पहुँच के, मेरे वालिदैन सैयदा ख़ुद मनिसा क़ाज़ी बशीरुद्दीन साहब क़िबला को पहुँच के, पीर यज़दानी साहब को पहुँच के, पीर अबू नसर साहब क़िबला को पहुँच के, दादा गंज को पहुँचे, खासो खास अबू गौसल आज़म दस्तगीर पिरानी पीर को पहुँचे। उनकी फ़ी बरक़ात से अल्लाह ताला हमें अच्छा कुरान पढ़ने, समझने, अमल करने की तौफ़ीक़ अता फ़रमा। अल्लाह ताला हमें कुरान की रोशनी अता फ़रमा। अल्लाह ताला हम सबको सिरात मुस्तक़ीम पे चला। अल्लाह ताला हमारे जितने भी अज़ीज़ अक़ारब अल्लाह ताला इस दुनिया से गुज़र चुके हैं, जितने मुसलमान दुनिया से गुज़र चुके हैं, सबकी मग़फ़िरत फ़रमा, सबको अपने जवार रहमत जगह अता फ़रमा। आमीन सुमा जज़ाकल्लाह खैर। तो मंसूर मियाँ बंद कर दो, फिर इंशाल्लाह अगले संडे मुलाकात होगी।